In this video, I want to talk about how economists classify goods. We typically classify them over two dimensions, and one is how rivalness of a good. And if something's rival, that means if someone consumes it or is using it, then it's not available for others to consume, or the quality of what's available has been diminished. So something that's non-rival, the flip side, is exactly the opposite, right? If a good is non-rival, then one person's use of the good does not diminish the quantity or the quality available for others to use. Good example of non-rival goods would be clean air, right? I can breathe it in, you can breathe it in, and my breathing the clean air doesn't diminish the quality or quantity available for others. National Public Radio, I can tune in, listen to All Things Considered, and so can everybody else. And so those are non-rival goods. Rival goods are our traditional private consumption goods. These pens, right? These are rival. Once I take this and own this, this pen's not available for you guys. And my keys, my phone, my car, all this kind of stuff. All right? So non-rival, rival. The second dimension is excludability. Can people be excluded from using the good? And the flip side, non-excludable. All right, I think that shows up all right. And a good that's excludable is exactly that people, usually through a price mechanism, where you have to buy it, are excluded from using it. Okay? So again, back to my pens, right? You have to buy these goods. That kind of price mechanism can exclude people from getting them, using them. Not the case with clean air. So we go back to clean air or a nice view or national defense in our country, that you can't be excluded from consuming those goods. And when we say we can't be excluded, we typically think it's not practical or feasible to exclude. So those are non-excludable goods. Something that's excludable are traditional private goods, a piece of pizza, my shoes, right? All excludable goods. So goods that, let's just pop a little 2x2 in here. Squeaky. I don't know, what's the best color? What's the best color that shows up? It's hard to say, isn't it? Hard to say. Anyway, let's get back to the matter at hand. Goods that are excludable and rival, those are our typical private goods. That's how we call those. Right, we're simplifying these things. In economics and in life, everything's kind of in this gray area, but let's just put things in nice cells here. These are private goods. Phone, my markers, my car, whatever. Goods that are excludable and non-rival. So if you think about this, these are kind of like they can be excluded through some sort of price or membership, all right? But once you're in, or once you have access to these goods, they're non-rival. And we typically call these club goods, right? You can think of, you need access to the club so that you can be excluded from, let's say, a gym or a health club. But once you're in there, it's non-rival, usually to a point. Like you can use the pool. My consumption of the pool isn't diminishing someone else's consumption of the pool. Again, maybe a museum entrance. You can imagine a park, a national park where you have to pay. It's non-rival if we're all in Yellowstone to a point, right? Then eventually you get to congestion, and so these things can start switching. But I think you get the point that there's an ability to exclude. So the clean air is not a good example, or is not an example of a club good, because we can't exclude someone from breathing in the air or seeing a nice view. Something that's non-excludable, so people can use, but rival, are where we call common or open access resources. So I'll write both. Open access or common resources or goods. Okay, we could call these goods or resources. And so we have a lot of different terminology that means the same thing in economics. Sometimes we call these common pool resources. The idea of common, open access, all convey the same thing, that the two characteristics are that there's rival, they're rival in consumption but not excludable. So you think about this as like a fishery, right? If people are going in to fish or let's say set lobster traps, then the goods are rival, right? There's only a certain amount of stock of a fish, and so basically every time I'm catching either a fish or a metric ton, where we're talking about, that's not available for others, and we know that without management or with mismanagement, the rival nature of these goods can cause a fishery to collapse or even go extinct. It's possible, right? So common grazing land, common gardening areas, fisheries, forest resources, where anyone can use them. It's really difficult to exclude. And so they're not excludable in all practical sense, but they're rival in their consumption. And then the final situation here are these public goods. We'll pop goods in here just to be consistent. And these are things that are non-rival and non-excludable. So back to public radio, that's a public good, okay? Both can't be excluded from enjoying it and non-rival. Most internet services are like this, right? We're all using Google. We're not excluded from using Google. So it's free to use Google, and it's non-rival in the sense that my use of Google isn't diminishing the Google available for others or the quality for others. National defense, lighthouses, stuff like this, roads, a lot of things in education we have as public goods. And so we want to pay particular attention to public goods in a class in environmental economics and policy because, well, A, we often want to increase public goods, but the flip side of pollution is pollution mitigation or pollution abatement, right? Cleaning up the environment. When you're cleaning up the environment, especially the air, that abatement or that cleaning up of the environment is a public good. People can't be excluded from enjoying the benefit of emissions or pollution abatement or pollution control. So they can't be excluded, and it's non-rival. My enjoyment of a cleaner atmosphere or cleaner air is not diminished by others' enjoyment.